Hi friends, it's Jacqueline for Pixie Dust PhD. Adam and I are lucky enough to stay in Bay Lake Tower for 6 whole nights this trip. We are splitting it up between a standard view, a theme park view, and a lake view, but largely the rooms should be the same. I of course will point out the different views and if anything is different about the rooms, but come along with me on a room tour of our standard view Bay Lake Tower studio to learn everything you need to know about the room, and I'll point out some quirks along the way. We were assigned room 7232, so that is on the 2nd floor and it is right around the corner from the south elevator. I am happy to report that there seems to be some sort of cast member only room between us and the elevator, and honestly it's been extremely quiet. This has been the most quiet hotel room we've stayed in on Disney properties so far, easily. So even though we're right near the elevator, everything's been fine. So when you walk into the room, first let's take a look at the door. You've got this cool chrome accent, and then of course, as with all hotels, you've got your evacuation route. So here you can see where we are in Bay Lake Tower. We're over on the south side, so pretty close to the bridge over to the Contemporary. Now, to the left is going to be your adjoining door. If you were going to have an adjoining room, we did not. But again, you've got this little alcove. It's a decent amount of space to store luggage, shoes, other items. There is no like mirror or wall hooks here though, or piece of art or anything in your entryway. To the right, we're gonna have the bathroom. It is a sliding door, which I think is pretty nice. Doesn't take up too much extra space. And then you do have 3 separate lights in here, so we'll turn them all on. There's these ones at the mirror. Hello. You've got this one inside the shower, which I love that it's in the shower, because then when you have the shower curtain closed, you're not blocking off all of the light. And then you have your overhead ones with the fan. So I do think we are missing in this exact room a little glass piece. If you look at this one, it disperses the light a little nicer, but that's not a problem. So your sink area is 1 sink and there is next to no counter space. You do have this little alcove with some shelves, which is helpful. So we did store some stuff here. It does come stocked with a couple of towels right here. There isn't anywhere to sort of hang or easily place a hand towel or a washcloth or anything. So we've basically just been draping it over the front of the sink. That's worked out well for us. Then below the sink, you do have a little bit of storage, like a smaller shelf here on top. And then below is your hair dryer, extra toilet paper, and extra Kleenex. But not a lot of bathroom storage if we're being honest. Of course, you have your toilet, a small trash can. There's this floating shelf that had all of our towels. This room sleeps 4, so we did get 4 full sets of towels and I believe 1 extra washcloth. On this wall, there are 2 of these hooks to hang up your towels, which is helpful. And there is 1 more hook over by the door. And then you have a like rod inside the shower to hang up a towel. So there are 4 spots for 4 large towels. The shower is pretty standard. You have this nice tub shower combo, kind of a more modern faucet, tile. There is a clothesline that you can put here from across the way. And then you do have this cool tile insert that really goes with the colors of the room. And like I said, I really love this shower light. If I ever build my own home, I'm definitely doing something like that. In terms of outlets, you do have these 2, but like I said, there's not a lot of counter space, so maybe you're using them for the hair dryer or temporary things, but I wouldn't count on leaving much plugged in there long term. So that's the bathroom. And you'll notice that the sink is inside the bathroom area. So you close this door and it's a full contained bathroom rather than having the sink sort of outside and the toilet and shower behind the door. So really only one person can be getting ready with any sort of privacy at a time. Moving forward, to the right is going to be our kitchenette. It's sort of a galley style. On the left, you have your kitchenette sink. It comes with soap, sponge, and then there's a little hand towel down here. On the right, we've got our Mr. Coffee machine and a couple plugs. Paper towels live here, which I think is actually really convenient. And then here is where we have our disposables. So because we're in a studio, we don't get reusables, we get disposables. Standard plastic cups. These are styrofoam cups with lids intended for coffee, plates and bowls. Under the sink, this cabinet is going to be your recycling. And then they also did give us a little thing of laundry detergent. I'm not sure if they're supposed to do that or if that's standard. That's the first time we've received laundry detergent for free in the room. And then you have this top drawer will have your plastic cutlery, can opener, another hand towel, coffee supplies, sugars, creamers, actual coffee. And then the other drawers are here for your use. And here's your extra paper towels. So there's a decent amount of kitchen-esque storage in here. And then moving to the right a little bit, we've got our microwave. Here is an ice bucket, an empty shelf for your use. And then you've got your oversized mini fridge. So again, these are bigger than like the college dorm size. A pretty good amount of space for keeping things cold. This freezer compartment does actually have a little lid, so it might work a little better, but in general, it's not a full freezer and I wouldn't count on it keeping things like hard frozen. Then you have this long, skinny pull-out cabinet. I assume it might be intended for foodstuffs like cereal, more coffee, spices. I put my shoes in here. It worked really well. I got to keep them all in one place, out of sight. I really like this piece of cabinetry. Then you have this full-length mirror, which is pretty well lit. There are 2 sets of lights in here also. There's the overheads, and then you have an under sink light. So it's pretty bright in here. And to the right of the full-length mirror, you have this nice little area with just counter space and shelving for storage, and then the trash cans over here as well. So this has a light, this has a mirror. This is where I put my makeup stuff. And frankly, you could put probably a lot of bathroom stuff here because you do have a sink right there. So it's not right in front of you, but you have what you need in terms of a sink, counter space, and plenty of mirrors. There is no makeup mirror. There's none on the wall that you can like bring close to your face. So I did a lot of that in this mirror because this is the one I could lean closest to most easily. And then you've just got some interesting wall art. It's like inset into the wall. It's not a frame, but adds a little pop of color. And that's your kitchenette. Turning around from the kitchenette, we have our closet. It is perhaps a little bit on the smaller side. This is one of the smaller studios you can get at DVC, but I think they make good use of the space. So you have your safe on the floor. This is where they store your luggage rack. I did take this out and put it over by the adjoining room door. Iron and ironing board. You get about 10 hangers, although on this side, the safe is raised off the floor a decent amount, so you can't put like long dresses here. And then this shelf that stores your extra pillow and blanket. So a smaller closet, but certainly functional. We stored our backpacks in here and I hung up most of my outfits. And now you're in the main living space. So to the right, we have the bed. It has this fun, it's probably hard to see on camera, but there are like tone-on-tone white dots on the covers, which I think adds a nice contemporary touch. You have your wonderful Mickey friend piece of artwork. He's so cute. This light switch, interestingly, controls that light on the opposite side of the room. Whatever. And then each person does get their own night light. You can individually control them. So on, off, easy enough. Each person has a small side table, but there are plugs underneath, and then there is this hole in the top of the side table so you can snake your cords through if you want. I would rather have this than no side table, so I thought it was pretty functional. The bed was really comfortable. We had great night sleeps. Like I said, it's been pretty quiet here, which is awesome. This is the other bedside table. Unfortunately, it does have the phone, so significantly less space, but you do still get your plugs shell you want them. And then pillows are the pretty standard Disney deluxe resort pillows. They're fluffy, not too firm, but they don't squish down super thin. So if you sleep on a super thin pillow, this might not be the most comfortable for you. Across from the bed, you have a small TV, relatively. It's certainly big enough for laying in bed and watching TV, but it is a little small. You're giving up TV space for some more cabinetry. So you have these 3 shelves here. We put like sunscreen, bug spray, that kind of stuff in here. It was really helpful. And then there are actually 6 drawers beneath this unit. So these 2 black ones are thin but functional. We put our face masks in here. And then you have 4 of these large white drawers. We were able to store quite a lot in here in terms of new outfits as well as dirty clothes. There's quite a lot of cabinetry in here. Now, because the TV is like encased in this unit, if you wanted to access the HDMI or anything, that's down here with the DVD player in this little shelf. And then you just have some empty space down here. This is where we were storing our luggage, like the suitcases that you would put in the overhead bin. We were able to put 2 of those down here. Next to the TV/entertainment unit, you have 2 chairs and this nice side table and another mirror. Behind the side table, there's actually 4 plugs, which is awesome. So this is where we set up all of our charging needs. And then on the other side of that, you've got your ottoman and couch. This is a pull-out bed, of course. And then some more pretty fun artwork. Contemporary Mickeys everywhere. The curtains, you just get 1 set. So it's these blackout curtains with this fun pattern. Ours were a little bit sticky in terms of being able to slide them. So, you know, it may take a little more effort than usual. And then you have your sliding glass door out onto your patio or balcony. So we have 2 chairs, a small side table, and a view of the Contemporary. So let's go outside for a moment. The door is pretty heavy. All right, so it's not huge. It's probably 5 or 6 steps for me. But you do get your 2 chairs, your little table. And even though we're only on the 2nd floor, it's a pretty nice view. That is the Sky Bridge over to the Contemporary from Bay Lake Tower. So yeah, if you're the kind of person that wants to sit on your patio or balcony, drink a cup of coffee, this is pretty peaceful for the most part. They're definitely doing some grounds work right now. Overall, that is the room, the Standard View Bay Lake Tower studio. So Adam and I have been really happy with it. I think I mentioned this a couple times. It's been quiet. I think these walls are pretty thick, which is awesome. So that's a huge perk. It is smaller in terms of square footage than a lot of other studios you can get on property, but I think the layout makes it extremely functional. We are moving to a theme park view room and a lake view room as well, so we'll be sure to let you know about those views and if anything in the room is different. Next up, we have our lake view studio at Bay Lake Tower. You're probably hearing some background noise. I am out on our patio and we are overlooking the pool. We are in room 8537, which is pretty close to the south elevators on the 15th floor. This might be as high as you can get for a studio. There is a 16th floor. I'm not sure if there are studios up there or not. The inside of the room is practically identical to that of the Standard View studio we showed you before that we had on the 2nd floor. The difference here, of course, is the view is upgraded, so the cost is also a little bit more, whether you are using your own DVC points or renting Disney Vacation Club points, or you're paying that cash rack rate. So let's go ahead and take a look at the view. First up, looking down, there's sort of your common area. There's this little water feature. Below that is where you would go into the lobby. So this little, that area, there's doors on either side of that you can go to lobby in. Then we have some trees. There's also some games set out. This is foosball. This darker blue one's a pool table. Down here you have space for bocce ball. On the other side, I think, is shuffleboard and you can see a game of bags set up. Then we have the pool that we're overlooking. This very fun slide. It's easier to see at night, but there's this Mickey in the middle of the slide that does light up. Got your hot tub off to the side. That there is the Cove bar, so there's your pool bar. So this is the Cove pool at Bay Lake Tower. Then past that, we have Bay Lake. There are a lot of Lakeview rooms in Bay Lake Tower because frankly, you're right on the lake. So we are on the inside of the tower. The tower is sort of shaped like this. So there are outside rooms and inside rooms. Inside rooms are all of these. And then all of the ones in the south part that I am on right now. And these are probably going to be Lakeview rooms. On the outside, you're more likely to get a view of Seven Seas Lagoon than Bay Lake. But we have this Bay Lake view. Electrical water pageant will come right through here at night. And you've got the pool and sort of the main grounds area. So that's the daytime view in our Lakeview studio at Bay Lake Tower. Again, we are on the 15th floor, which is fantastic. But even if you're on a lower floor, because Bay Lake is so big, you're definitely going to have an awesome lake view. Next up, we'll have theme park view. Finally, we have our theme park view studio. I am standing out on our balcony. The balcony itself is no different than the standard view balcony. It's the same size, same setup, but of course we're several floors higher and facing the Magic Kingdom. So before we get to the view, there were a couple of very minor differences. They're completely immaterial if you ask me. The soap dish holder in the bathroom was shaped differently. The one in this room was a little oval. The one in the standard view room was a little seashell. The iron board cover is a different color, but again, that doesn't matter. And then the AC unit actually looked a little different. It perhaps was a little bit older, but functionally it worked exactly the same. So really on the inside, the room is no different. The real difference is your view. So let's get to that. We are on the 7th floor in room 7718, so it's a little closer to the north elevator. And this is a view with no zoom. So if we lean over to the left, there's the Contemporary. You can see the track for the monorail. Sort of past that with those red roofs, that's the Grand Floridian. Here we have the Bay Lake Tower parking lot. So we are only on the 7th floor. This goes up much higher. The higher you are, sort of the less obvious the parking lot is. But then we have the castle. You can also see the Astro Orbiter sort of in front and left to it. Space Mountain and Tron construction. And then over to the right, you can see the tennis courts and a little bit of water. So it is a really fabulous view. This is also in the morning. You may be able to see some people filtering on the walkway over to the parks. We'll be doing that shortly. At night though, it's so special. It also looks better in person than on the camera. Like the castle looks closer in person than on the camera, but here's a zoomed in look of the castle with Astro Orbiter, Space Mountain. Oh, we got a monorail. Zoom out again. Yeah. That I think is Splash Mountain, this little area of rocks back here. Yeah, night is truly phenomenal and you can very easily see the fireworks. You can pump in the music from your room on your TV. For us, it was channel 105 was fireworks. So we just turned it up and cracked our door and had an awesome time.
Pretty good.
So there's your overview of a studio at Bay Lake Tower, whether that be standard view, lake view, or theme park view. For the most part, the rooms on the inside are basically clones. It's really just a difference in your view. Even the balconies are the same. A few points you may want to be aware of if you are thinking about staying here. First, the bathroom is totally self-contained, so the sink is inside that same area with the toilet and shower, as opposed to in many places you're used to staying these days, it may be separate. However, you do have your kitchenette right on the other side of the bathroom with plenty of counter space, a sink, and 2 large mirrors, so that serves as a great secondary place for someone to get ready in the mornings or wind down in the evenings. Next, at least in the rooms we've stayed in, there really weren't any USB outlets. There were plenty of outlets overall, but you do need that 2 or 3 prong plug. You can't just plug a USB straight into it. So be sure to pack your adapters. Third, the electrical water pageant does come by the Contemporary in Bay Lake, so depending on where your room is situated in the tower, you may be able to hear it from your room, even with your door closed, and that's a pro or con, depending on how you feel about the pageant, but it is very loud, so even with your door closed, the sound's gonna bleed through. It comes by between like 10 and 10:30 most nights. That is subject to change, of course, but if you are a light sleeper and you like to go to bed early, that's something to consider. And one other weird thing we noted was the lighting. So the lighting inside the kitchenette, where I'm currently standing in the bathroom, is actually really fantastic and quite bright. The lighting in the main living areas though, the bedroom and then the couch with the little table, is very dim. In our first room we thought maybe we just got old light bulbs, but I think it is actually designed that way. In the daytime, this isn't a problem because you just open your curtains and you have this huge sliding glass door letting in a ton of natural light. But once the sun goes down, the room can be quite dark even with all of those lights on. If you're planning on doing some intense work at night, you may want to bring some external source of lighting, or just understand that your eyes may get strained a little bit. But overall, the room is smaller but super functional. It's got a great layout, the beds were comfortable, and this has been a very quiet stay for us. Pretty much everywhere else we've stayed, certainly on Disney property, you can hear folks in the hallway, you can hear your next door neighbors. Maybe we've just gotten very lucky, but I think perhaps the way it's laid out with the bed so far away from your door and several thick walls between you and it just filters some of the noise out, so it's been a really peaceful stay. And really, if you're considering staying at Bay Lake Tower or the Contemporary, the biggest perk is definitely that access to the Magic Kingdom. It is a quick 10-minute walk from your door into the gates of the Magic Kingdom, which depending on how you feel, may be priceless. I hope this review of a studio at Bay Lake Tower has been helpful for you. Thanks so much to everyone who did leave a like on the video, and if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to the channel. Once you do, you can ring the bell icon to receive notifications whenever I post new videos. If you do have any questions about our Bay Lake Tower stay, leave them in the comments down below and I'll definitely get back to you. We can also chat outside of YouTube. Over on Twitter and Instagram, you'll find me at PixieDustPhD. I hope the rest of your day is super magical, like waking up to looking at Space Mountain and Magic Kingdom from your theme park view room, and we'll see you real soon at PixieDustPhD.